So today we're going to talk about installing an irrigation system at your own home orchard. The first thing we'll do is go through the supplies that you need to set up your system, and then we'll talk about how to set up your system. So first, for supplies. The first is tubing. There's two types of tubing that you're going to need. The first is called a blank line, and this is tubing that has no holes in it. This is also called the main line of the irrigation system. This is a line that will run from your water source to the tree. The second line is called an emitter line, and this is the line that actually will bring water to the tree. So that's the setup for the tubing. You need some small pieces as well to help connect the tubing together. The first is a T-coupler. This will be used to help connect your emitter line that's spiraling around the tree to the blank line that's running from your riser setup. You will also need some ball valves. These will help manually turn off and on the water flow around your trees. These are also useful if you need to flush out the irrigation lines. You also need a packet of earth staples. Once you've laid down your blank line and the emitter lines, you will need to secure the lines into the ground using these staples. The last of the small supplies that you will need is a figure 8 end cap. We also need some other supplies for setting up the riser coming out of your water source. So for us here at the farm, we use about 3/4 inch setup for our orchard. So you want to make sure you check the size of everything that you buy, making sure that it's the same. So the first thing that you need to install is the timer to the end of the spigot or water source. You can see here we just have a simple setup coming out of our, where you would attach a hose to. This is where we first attach the timer. And there are many types of timers that you buy, but the important thing to note is that the pressure of the water coming out of the hose matches the pressure on the timer. You will also need a coupler. As you can see here, we have a small coupler on the end of the timer. This is on the output side. Again, it's really important to make sure that these sizes are all the same. So once you install the coupler, the next thing we're going to install is a filter. This filter is used to catch the particles that can clog and deteriorate your irrigation system. We use a simple screen filter. It works great. Again, make sure it's the same size as the rest of your supplies. The last thing that you can see here that we have installed on our riser setup is a pressure regulator. It's crucial to make sure that the regulator is rated high enough for the water that is coming out of the source. So once you install and set up your riser system, including the timer, coupler, filter, and pressure regulator, again, be sure to double check all of the sizes of every supply to make sure that they will work nicely together. So the first thing you do is you will now attach the blank line, so the line with no holes, to the riser setup. If it's difficult to attach the tubing, you can soak the ends of the tubing in warm water to loosen it up. You want the end of the blank line to run to about a foot away from the base of the tree. If you have multiple trees, you will use the T-coupler. If you only have one tree, instead of using a T-coupler, you can get an elbow connector. So once you do that, you then install the T-coupler or elbow coupler to the end of that blank line. And then after you install that coupler, you will cut a small piece of blank line and put it on the output end of that T-coupler. Once you install that small piece of blank line, this is where you put the ball valve to the end of that blank line. This will help you manually, again, turn off and on the watering. So now it's time to attach the emitter line. So this is the line with the holes in it. You want to loop the emitter line out from the tree at about 18 inches from the base of the tree. We usually make 2 to 3 loops around our trees. So after you completed the setup and before you cap the end of the line, we suggest flushing out the line. There could have been some, dirt or other particles that have gotten trapped inside the tubing as you were setting this up. We generally let the water run until it starts coming out of the farthest irrigation setup. So if you have multiple trees, so the farthest tree away from the water source is the farthest irrigation setup. So once it starts coming out of there, let it run for a few seconds and then shut it off. So once you flush the system, then you're ready to cap off the emitter line. So you're going to fold over and slide on the figure 8 cap to the end of the line. So now it's time to secure the line to the ground. So starting at the riser, place an earth staple about 24 inches apart along the blank line and then along the emitter lines. And again, so if we're installing irrigation for multiple trees, you're going to be using the T-coupler instead of the elbow connector. And so you would just run the blank line from the other end of that T connector to the next tree. And from there, you're going to repeat the same steps again using the spiral technique of the emitter line setup. So as for calculating rate flow, we use a calculation that's recommended for stone fruit trees in Santa Clara County. We use a flow rate of 0.4 gallons per hour for our emitter lines. And so we water about 2.5 hours a week. And this means that each of our trees get about 15 gallons of water per week.